Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about stretching and squeezing the muscles. Protraction, retraction, all that stuff, and what works best for most people and what you should be more aware of and explore more about. So recently I've been seeing a lot of people do a lot of regular rows, a lot of regular chest pressing, and it occurs to me that the general advice is to keep your chest up, keep that proud posture if you want to work your chest well. And this all stems from the bench pressing. You want to stay like this when you're bench pressing. It keeps your shoulder safe, it keeps your form stable and strong. And wow, this is absolutely correct. And you should, during chest movements, keep your chest up during most of the part. I actually think this basic advice is kind of outdated if we're talking about hypertrophy. So what I seem to notice with the bigger bodybuilders and my own training is that if you really want to squeeze, for example, the chest muscles, you're gonna want to round the shoulders forward a bit when you're at the top of the movement. This actually allows you to put your arms inwards and get that maximum squeeze, and you're just not able to do this while keeping that chest up posture perfectly. So I actually think that people are not listening to themselves, not listening to their bodies enough when performing these exercises. And I do think this slightly rounding posture at the top is actually better for hypertrophy because you feel the muscle much better, you get a better muscle connection, you get a better squeeze, and then you can go into the super strong eccentric with the with the chest up posture. So I definitely recommend you guys try this out. So I actually realized this when watching Sam Sulek, which also rounds at the top of his movements. And I noticed when I began to learn more about my chest development and felt my chest better, I actually started rounding. And I actually started half wrapping more of my ranges of motions, staying in the bottom because that's why I get a nice stretch. And then halfway through the motion, I let my arms come in. I let my shoulders come forward and get that squeeze. So I got a much more effective range of motion for my goals. I get a better pump, better contraction, still a good stretch as I was most of the time in that bottom part of the movement. And honestly, I saw better results. And this is not only true for the chest, this is the same for the back. Actually, if you want to squeeze the chest, you roll your shoulders forward. If you want to stretch it, put your chest up. And with back, it's kind of similar, kind of the opposite. It's if you want to squeeze the back, you move your chest up and really put your elbows all the way back. But if you really want to stretch your back, you're actually gonna want to let your scapula move forward, protract, and that will give you the best stretch. But people are too dogmatic about form, and they're not gonna let their shoulders go forward, and they're actually just not getting true failure in their back musculature. They're too afraid to have that posture. And I do find myself that when I let my shoulders protect that much, I get a way better stretch in my upper back and way more soreness, and honestly it's just way more effective. I have to do less sets and I get more productive work in. So this is just another anecdote of you probably want to get the maximum stretch, get the maximum contraction, and it's not just gonna be the same posture throughout the whole movement. And I highly suggest you guys actually try this out, try getting a better contraction, try getting a better stretch, and see what your body does, and realize that there is no one perfect. You actually have to be dynamic with your posture to get the most out of the movement. And this is just like part of feeling what your body does, feeling what feels best, and not just staying in that one posture for your exercises. And this is also just true mostly for the back, because you're just not gonna get the most out of your back without that big stretch, which most people skip a lot of the time during their rows. They're focused on the contraction, but they're missing that last piece of the big piece of the range of motion, and that's what the stretch is what's gonna get you the best results. So I will try to advise you to pick those exercises which focus a little bit more on the stretch, have a better resistance curve at the end of the range of motion, and really try just stretching the fuck out of your body and see what happens instead of focusing too much on that contraction. You still need the contraction. I highly advise you to get the contraction, but focus on the end range of motion and have the dynamic body posture while performing your exercises. And as I said before, I actually think doing partials or half of the range of motion on some lifts is actually more beneficial, because you're maybe just wasting time doing the top end of the range of motion if you can actually get the squeeze earlier by moving those shoulders forward. And actually have a smaller range of motion, which is more productive to growth, because you're not only closer to the bottom range of motion where you get the juicy stretch, you also can get your squeeze earlier. And yeah, I just feel like I feel exercises way better if I use this kind of technique. And I just suggested to try it out. Maybe it doesn't work for, maybe it does. I personally think this is a better way of training, and I suggest you to try it out. So have fun with your training. I hope you find this useful, and I hope I gave you some a different perspective on stretching and squeezing the muscles and what optimal technique is for certain exercises. See you guys in the next video.